friends, it's Rebecca from New Creation. If you remember last week during children's time, we talked about this verse from Psalm 31:3. It says, God is my strong rock, a castle to keep me safe, my crag and my stronghold. Well, these are all figures of speeches. We know that God is not really a rock or really a castle or really a crag or a stronghold. But we know that when we make a comparison between God and those things, we're not saying God's equal to them, but God has something in common with them. This is called a simile. And we create similes when we use words like to compare two things that aren't the same. So they have something in common, but they're not the exact same. So God is like a rock. God is like a castle. God is like a crag, or God is like my stronghold. And that helps us think about God in a new way. So when we start thinking, well, what is a rock like? We come up with some words to describe rock, and then we say, could we use those words to describe God too? So one way to work out a simile or come up with a simile is to make a Venn diagram. Some of you have done this at school before. And you create two circles, and they have a little bit of overlap in them. And you put the one of the things that you're comparing in one circle and the thing you're comparing to in the other circle. And then the part of the circles they don't share, you put words that describe just one of them. So God is loving. So we put that in our God circle. But rocks are not loving. So we don't get to put loving in there. Rocks are inanimate. They're not alive. God is not inanimate. And so we don't put that in the God circle. God is all powerful, but rocks are not. So we don't put it over there. Rocks are uncaring. God is not uncaring. God cares a lot. God is eternal. There is never a time without God. God is always there. That's not true for rocks. Rocks last a really long time, but they change over time, and eventually they turn to pebbles, and then to sand, and then to dust, right? Wind and water wear them down, and eventually they disappear. But there are some things that rocks and God have in common. They're both strong, safe, and steadfast. That means they don't change much. So rocks do change over time, but they change real slowly. So steadfast means kind of mostly unchanging. So like it means more like reliable. Right? We can rely on them. So if we were going to write a poem like the psalmist did about God being like a rock, we might say God is like a rock, strong, safe, and steadfast. Well, in the next couple pictures, I have photos that you have emailed to me this past week of things and nature that you're seeing around where you live. And I've chosen some of them to include here, and I want to use them as an exercise for us to create similes that maybe can help us understand God. So for each picture, I've chosen something to focus on the picture, and I've written that down. You might choose to focus on something else. So this one, I said, God is like an open sky. I really noticed all the blue sky here, but maybe there's something else you noticed, like this woodpecker hole. Then I'm going to come up with words to describe a sky. I'm going to think about all the words that I might describe a sky, and some of them then might also apply to God. Some of them won't. So a sky is blue. God is not blue. Maybe the color blue reminds us of God. There's no wrong answers here to describe what a sky is like. If you like this picture, go ahead and push pause, and you can write down the words that an open sky reminds you of, or you could have someone else write them down for you, or you could speak them out loud, or you could just think them, and then think about which one of them also applies to God. Here's another picture. This has lots going on in this picture. There's a tree trunk with bark on it. There's little things, green things growing. So there's leaves, and there's sticks in the ground, and there's some little pebbles there too. Maybe some berries, not sure exactly. I picked the bark to focus on. So if I was going to start a poem about this and a simile about this, I might say, God is like the bark on a tree. Then I'm going to think about words that describe bark and see, do any of them also describe God? So bark is gray. In this picture, sometimes it's brown too. Bark is rough. Bark protects things, protects the tree. So if you like this picture, you can push pause and come up with your own words to describe bark, and then figure out, do any of those words also describe God? Oh, I like this picture a lot. If you've been in backyards at our church, maybe you've seen this picture before. This is a tree with many, many branches. So I said, God is like a tree with many branches. And before I can explain that, I need to think, well, what is a tree with many branches like? What are some qualities it has, or what does it do? So if you like this picture, you can push pause here and come up with some of your own words to describe what a tree with many branches is like. And then look at those words or listen to those words again and see, how is that like God? Oh, here's a fun one. God is like a cat. This is a picture of a cat with stripes sitting on the windowsill in a sunbeam over a kitchen sink. Now, if it feels silly or maybe even disrespectful to compare God to a cat, I want to let you know that I think actually God is okay with that. And here's why I think so. It's because of this image from the Bible. It's one of my favorite similes. God is like a hen. What do I mean by that? We're going to watch a few little video clips that show us how hens behave. And I want you to think about words that describe what you're seeing. And so you can be inspired by the pictures. Oh, I also want to let you know that in some of these little video clips, there's another animal that's harassing a mother hen, sometimes just wanting to play with the mother hen. You'll see a dog that wants to play. He's in the play position, but the mother hen is not interested. She wants to focus on her babies and keeping them safe. And so if you feel worried when you watch that, I want to let you know that it always ends up okay. The mother hen always takes care of her babies. Do you see what happens? When they're threatened, they all know to go right under their mama, and she knows to spread her wings over them and keep them safe and hidden. The psalmist tells us that we can hide under the shadow of God's wings so that predators can't see us. No, we don't, as humans, don't really have predators, but it means that we can be protected there, that we can have refuge there. That means we can rest there. And that God's wings keep us safe, just like the feathers of a bird keep a bird safe, right? Birds don't wear clothes in the wintertime. They don't sleep under blankets. Their feathers insulate them and keep them warm and safe. And the mother hen, her feathers keep her baby safe too. Let's look at another one. How many feet do you see under there? How many chicks do you think can fit? Take a guess, and then we'll see. Well, that little clip reminds me that there's room for everyone under God's wings. Everyone God can take care of. This one's actually my favorite. I wonder what these little chicks are thinking about as they're trying to get in. I like this picture because by the time they're all in there, you can't even tell that they're hiding there. They're camouflaged, they're safe, they're warm. Maybe they feel a little bit crowded, but there's always room for everyone. I hope you liked these little videos, and I hope you liked looking at pictures other kids sent in. Thank you for those of you who sent in photos to share. I'm so grateful for your willingness to do that. If anybody in church is interested in creating more slides, I would love to see your pictures. If there's something that is beautiful in your life that reminds you of God, or if you've written words to describe that beautiful thing and how that beautiful thing reminds you of God, I would love to see them. You can email me. My email address is in the church directory, or you can email the church and someone will forward them to me. Or you could even, if you're a kid, you could work with a grown-up with permission to put it on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page. Because I think you can create beautiful artwork with the beautiful things in our natural world and write beautiful words to help us understand how much God loves us and takes care of us.